Hello, and thank you for tuning into our group presentation on Amazon and Walmart. We are Group 3, composed of Eliseo Cortez and myself, Luis Orozco. For our project, we decided to target both of these companies, try to evaluate their massive e-commerce systems and capabilities. In comparing both companies and their e-commerce systems, we will be talking about some of these systems' functionalities, noting where they overlap, where each company brings something new to the table, and also offer up some suggestions for improvement where we think opportunities might exist. So, as mentioned prior, the focus of our project was to compare and contrast specifically the e-commerce segments of both Amazon and Walmart. But why these two giants? We ultimately decided on these two for a couple of reasons. The first being the company sizes. Given their large sizes, there is a good chance their audience watching this video has heard of either of them and are somewhat familiar with them. Additionally, we also wanted to have one historically online company and another more so brick and mortar company turned online. In other words, having had to evolve to meet current commercial and consumer trends. Again, we chose to specifically target these e-commerce segments of both companies, realizing that comparing anything beyond that would amount to an enormous scope, as both companies nowadays do quite a bit more than just sell goods online. Comparing, for example, there's other options such as web services or their supply chains and their systems would quite simply take an enormous amount of time and effort. So, starting off with Amazon, but actually, before that, just a quick definition of what an e-commerce platform is, for those not too familiar with the topic. An e-commerce platform is a complex software or system that facilitates the exchange of goods and services amongst many parties from all over the internet. What was previously impossible or quite difficult was made possible, or at the very least, a lot easier by the emergence of online shopping and e-commerce platforms such as Etsy, eBay, and of course, Amazon Marketplace and Walmart's platform. So, from humble beginnings, founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, launched the company as an online bookstore right out of his garage. Little did anyone know that this same online bookstore would grow exponentially to be the world's leading e-commerce marketplace one day. Of course, this huge undertaking didn't occur overnight or by fluke. A lot of calculated moves, such as opening the doors to third-party sellers, the company's obsession with its customers and their satisfaction, helping pioneer the paid subscription model through their membership Amazon Prime, all helped shape the company into the massive tech conglomerate that it is today. The company does not seem to be stopping anytime soon. They continue to dive deeper and move forward in many new areas such as virtual assistants, smart home tech, automotives, web services, and many, many more. I do want to quickly mention that a good number of basic e-commerce functionalities, such as searching and placing an online order, do overlap with those of Walmart. But of course, Amazon and Walmart both have features and functionalities that set them apart from each other and their competition. And so, now that we know a little bit more about Amazon, I want to reel the conversation back just a little more. On screen are some major functionalities. These will be the focus of our discussion of Amazon in comparison to Walmart, our counterpart. Those underlined are functionalities that Amazon performs that Walmart does not, or are quite different in nature. For example, our basic e-commerce capabilities would entail, as previously mentioned, searching and shopping, and our more niche capabilities apply to various subscription models offered, live product streaming, and many forms of customer support that stand Amazon apart from Walmart. So before we dive into each of the processes and focus, I did want to quickly flash over the context and level 1 diagrams that I came up with for Amazon's e-commerce system. Recognizing that the platform or system is enormous, the decision to limit the scope to basic functionalities and just a couple that stand it apart from Walmart's system was absolutely necessary, and you will see why in the next diagram. Already, the context diagram is a little busy. After all, in order to support such a huge system, a large amount of data and the frequency of it moving is quite extraordinary. So just to quickly point out some of the things of interest, as our time is limited and I don't want to spend hours on each diagram, you will see a pattern that the main user of the system, in this case the Amazon customer, is the main player in most transactions involving data. All of the other external entities, such as the fulfillment center, merchants, media owners, etc., they all play a quote-unquote supporting role to whatever process the customer launches. So for some examples, when a customer launches a product search or wants to purchase a product, as in they place an order, they send that data flow, such as product search or customer order, into the system. And from there, the supporting cast get that order. In this case, for example, if it was a grocery pickup order, the physical location, or in parentheses, the store, such as a Whole Foods, would receive that pickup order, but at the same time also checking their inventory levels to make sure that they can fulfill that order. And once that's all sorted out, and once they have fulfilled the order, that same data flow goes back into the system, and the customer receives on their end a confirmation number, order tracking info if it applies, and things of that nature. Again, same thing applies to all the other supporting roles. For example, if a customer is having issues with their Echo Dots, which is a smart speaker, they can go into the Amazon e-commerce platform and provide or I should say, launch a customer service request or support request, which gets routed to an Amazon customer support employee, where they go in, try to resolve, they update the ticket. Once it is resolved, the customer gets that data or information on the resolution, how to resolve it, what was done to support them in a ticket of some sort. And as mentioned previously, the next diagram, the level 1 diagram, would be even busier than the context as promised. And in trying to decompose the previous diagram, we ran into some issues, namely of it becoming rather crowded. After all, there is a lot of potential movement going on. The solution, of course, was to limit our scope. So instead of walking you all through the multiple facets of this chaotic diagram, the best next thing is to decompose even further and examine the individual functionalities and their processes in much closer detail in level 2 diagrams. Of course, if you would like to pause the video to observe the further detail of the decomposed context diagram, feel free to do so. Process is the account management process. It's a very straightforward and quick process that entails the customer, either new and existing, entering their personal or payment information into the system, which then gets stored in a data store named customer database. Again, the customer can edit said information, thus sending that request through a data flow, and then receiving it back in the form of updated information on their end on a computer screen. Okay, so moving on is the order processing process. This one is a little bit more involved than the last one, in the sense that it entails all the processes that are involved in ordering or shopping online through Amazon. And it really just starts with the customer. They either create a product search and gain that information from process 2.1, and that information or that request is sent to a database that stores in fulfillment center inventory, which returns product information. From there, a customer can choose to add an item to their shopping cart, which again is a data store on its own. They can choose to modify it, as in they add or edit cart items accordingly. Once that is all sorted out, we can then move on to process 2.3, which deals with modifying and requesting the order based on the type of order. And an intermediary step between 2.3 and fulfilling the orders is 2.4, which verifies inventory levels of the items that the customer wants to purchase. It ends up relaying data flows of checking the inventory status to a process that we will talk about later on, process 4, inventory processing. But going back to the processes of ordering, processes 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, 2.8, and 2.9 all deal with different types of orders. The first one, processing orders online, it entails any kind of order that will be shipped to the customer, which again also includes process number 2.7, which is subscriptions. You can set up subscriptions to send you recurring boxes of chips or boxes of different beauty products, for example. But again, this entails orders that are shipped online. As opposed to processes 2.6 and 2.8, these processes are either picked up by the customer or are delivered in the case of groceries. And again, both of these processes tap the physical location information data store to check information on the specific location where the items will be located, such as the address or the hours of operation. And finally, process 2.9 deals with digital orders. A customer requests a purchase of an ebook, and the process deals with requesting that ebook from an inventory, the digital content inventory to be specific, and sends it back to the customer. In the end, the customer receives tracking info if applicable and their confirmation. And finally, one thing to note is that Amazon Accounting will receive this information as well to track accounting and financial processes down the line. So next up is process 3, which entails payments processing. As previously mentioned, Amazon Accounting does deal with the accounting and the financials of processing orders. And what they do is that they aggregate all the revenue data from orders and perhaps from other sources as well, and that is captured in process 3.1. Afterwards, they send that revenue data to process 3.2, where the funds are then accordingly distributed amongst their partners. Partners that include shoppers, merchants, content creators, and media owners. And finally, process 3.3 deals with verifying and processing the digital content or external content. In the case of the content creators or the media owners, making sure that they fulfill their contractual obligations of providing legitimate and valid content. The next process is inventory processing, which of course stems from placing online orders, as seen in process 2. This process sends out a request for inventory verification status, which is then handled by process 4.1. And essentially, the rest of this process is to capture inventory levels across the board at various locations, such as physical stores and fulfillment centers. And if more inventory is needed, they send out a request to the merchants who are partnered with Amazon to provide products. And this is all done through sending various data flows in the form of queries out to the data store named stores and fulfillment center inventory, which in turn return inventory levels. And if needed, again, inventory levels are replenished by sending an order out to the merchant. So process 5, generate reports process, is a pretty generic process that Amazon isn't the only one who offers said process, but nonetheless, it's an important process to highlight, given that customers are pretty inquisitive about their past purchase histories or order details. And it's pretty straightforward in the sense that the customer places a request into process 5.1. It's pretty much just handles the request and also queries said information that is being requested by the customer from the data store 1 customer database, which again houses all this information. And then that process routes it accordingly to whatever process that particular report that is being requested. So for example, if the report in question is a purchase history report, purchase history data is pulled from the customer database, compiled and processed, and then sent out to process 5.4 to generate the report, which in turn sends it right back and is then routed to the customer accordingly to be seen on their screen. Again, this is all the same pretty much across the board for process generate order details, generate invoice, and generate subscriptions information. So the next process, managing custom lists, is a very simple yet important process to highlight because this feature comes in handy a lot of the time, and Amazon customers generally tend to really utilize it for a number of things, from creating a gift list for a certain someone or a shopping list for groceries that you've had in mind. Essentially, it's a very handy capability that the system allows users to take advantage of. And like I said, it's a very straightforward and easy process. The customer can create a brand new list and add items to it, or they can go ahead and edit it by adding or removing items to an existing list. These lists, in turn, are stored in the user curated list database. And whenever a change is needed to be made, a data flow entailing a query with said changes is then processed in that database and then again pulled back out by process 6.2 and then shown to the customer. Additionally, a list can also just be deleted again by an edit list data flow, and process 6.3 would take care of deleting that said list. But of course, first the list needs to be pulled by a query in process 6.2. So one of the things that Amazon really prides themselves on is their ability to help the customer out through customer support initiatives. This essentially is initiated by the customer placing a support request as seen in process 7.1. The same ticket or request, or I should say the request is in turn changed into a ticket, which then is assigned to an appropriate agent as seen in processes 7.2 and 7.3. Of course, since all requests aren't all the same, process 7.3 takes care of transforming and editing the ticket and routing it to the appropriate Amazon customer support employee, as seen in the external entity to the right. If they are ongoing or if they resolve the issue, nevertheless, the support ticket is updated and sent to 7.4, which in turn is sent to the customer for their records, showing that their support ticket was taken care of, or if it's still in process, it will state so. And the next process is credit card request. So for this one, pretty simple. The customer provides application information as per requested from the system. Once that information is sent into the system, it's compiled and then modified by subsequent process 8.2, and then securely encrypted and sent out essentially to the financial partner, an external entity, by process 8.2. All of this credit information is then, of course, processed by that financial institution, and they send back an application decision back into the process into 8.1. And then the customer, of course, is given a decision as to whether they are or are not approved. So the final process, product live streaming, is unique to Amazon, at least compared to Walmart, and that is the capability that Amazon has provided for essentially contracted advertisement by reaching out to content creators online and having them try on clothing or shoes and live streaming their experiences and reviews of said items. This in turn can be seen on the e-commerce platform by a whole bunch of customers. And essentially what happens is that the content creator produces the video stream. It is processed by process 9.1, and that same stream is stored in a digital content inventory for later viewing. That same stream data is then sent to 9.2 to be validated by the third process, which was, if you recall, processing payments, so that the content creator can then later be issued streamer funds, or in other words, their payment. And so we also wanted to highlight the ER diagram, just because it's a good summary of pretty much all the processes that we just discussed that set Amazon apart, or also is similar to Walmart. We will see that from Eliseo's conversation later on about his processes and his own ER diagram. But since there's so much information just in this one diagram, we didn't want to go into too much detail. We just want to highlight a few things of interest, such as the customer and the order entities playing such a big role in the whole system as a whole. The customer is tied to a bunch of different entities, such as support ticket, shopping cart, list, and Amazon credit, to name just a few. And they're also connected through other means, such as the order entity, which of course has a bunch of foreign keys, therefore stating that it is pretty much the center stone of the e-commerce platform. So to wrap up our discussion on Amazon, the following areas of improvement were some areas that we noticed could be expanded. And we begin with the online order pickup functionality. Their competition, Target and Best Buy, do a very good job of adding additional customization to the pickup process, such as who gets to pick up the order, what kind of vehicle you will be driving up to in specific and designated parking spots, and other things of that nature. Amazon falls slightly short of that just because they don't have that added functionality. They instead allow you to choose where you want to pick up an order, but that's where the customization ends. And next are the content streams that we mentioned previously. They're a little obscure and hidden. Our suggestion would be to put them up more in front, maybe in the homepage or in a product summary, just to add that extra advertisement and bring in extra sales and revenue. And finally, their heavy expansion into brick and mortar through different stores and locations and acquisitions of grocery stores such as Whole Foods. They should include more information in regards to their physical locations and their inventory, such as Best Buy. They add whatever nearest location has the product you have in mind, and if not, they suggest other near locations with the same product. Amazon does not do this, but they would benefit to do so.
Hi everyone, my name is Lisa Cortez, and as part of this project, I analyze Walmart's information systems. So let me first give you all a little bit of background on Walmart. So Walmart is the largest retailer in the world, and they're also a multinational company. Each week, they receive over 220 million people visit one of their stores and their website. Walmart continues to expand their products, services, and apps that they deliver to customers each year. And what enables Walmart to do this is the range of functionalities that they're able to provide. And this is all possible through the innovations of their information system. Over the years, they've been able to integrate it with a host of different services that they provide, but also with their suppliers, warehouses, and third-party content providers. And this is what keeps drawing customers back to Walmart and what enables them to provide to so many people across the globe. So as I said before, Walmart provides a myriad of functionalities to their customers. And we could honestly be here all day talking about the different functionalities that Walmart provides that how many they have. But I wanted to just touch on a few of the core ones that they're able to provide to customers. So to start things off, they allow them to search their products, create shopping lists, create their own account, track their orders. And then a few interesting ones is that they give customers the ability to apply for lines of credit, have items either picked up and delivered to their homes or stores, and allow warehouses to deliver items to retail stores as well as customers too. And then many, many more, because like I said, Walmart's functionalities are almost endless. So now that I said all those great things about Walmart's information system, let's take a look at it. In this slide here, we see Walmart's context diagram. And one thing to note is that this diagram is very generic, like most context diagrams are. So for the customer, where we'll get into the more of the unique functionalities that Walmart provides is all through the product search data flow. So in there we'll explore, Walmart's different catalog of items that customers are able to search through. And then when you take a look at the other entities like supplier, distribution warehouse, and retail stores, they're very basic as well. So a supplier, they get product levels and then they deliver product replenishment orders. A distribution warehouse fulfills orders and they receive orders. And a retail store sends sales data to Walmart's system and they receive back replenishment orders as well as sales forecasted data. Looking at Walmart's level 1 diagram here, the product info data flow, as I said before, is really going to show off Walmart's more unique functionalities here. And really it's this the very first process here, the browse catalog process. Since Walmart's catalog and departments are huge, this is where we'll see most of their products and services being held at. And even still, I feel like we would still have to drill down, maybe 2-3 more levels just to really get a good look at how unique Walmart's catalog is and all of the features that it contains. Once we look at the rest of the level 1 diagram here, I think it's pretty basic and what you'd expect from someone like Walmart, like Amazon, or other big retailers. So there's a lot of different processes, and for the most part, they all deal with the same entities such as warehouses, suppliers, retail stores, and they all do the same things like process payments, process orders, send shipments, and then forecast sales. So now looking at Walmart's level 2 diagram, we see we've got the browse catalog process and the account creation process, which are the first two processes in the information system when a customer visits their site. As I was saying before, the browse catalog process is where you'll see more of Walmart's unique functionalities. So once a customer sends a product search and their query gets resolved, that catalog database is going to have all of the all the products and all the services that a customer will want to see. And again, that's where they'll get that product info, which is kind of the meat of Walmart's information system. That's where it kind of makes itself unique compared to every other business, because they have a myriad of products and services that only they can provide. And then looking over at the account creation process, it's pretty basic, kind of what you'd expect from a retailer, just kind of like Amazon and Walmart and other large retailers. So again, a customer will provide their personal data and it will be collected. Then they'll get prompted as part of the account creation process to see if they want to apply for a credit card, and then set up pickup and delivery options. They'll get a chance to apply for a Walmart subscription, and then once all that's done, the personal data will be confirmed, and then those account details will be sent to the customer. So staying on board with Walmart's level 2 diagrams, we take a look at how payments are processed and how orders are processed. So first we'll take a look at payments. So first the customer will send the payment data to the payment data collection process, and the scheduled payments database will also send the supplier payment, which are payments to suppliers, through the same process. Then both of the pay data will be sent to a payment validation process, where the pay data is sent to a bank database to make sure that they are valid. Once that's confirmed, the payment data will be sent to a validated funds process, where the customer will receive a receipt, and the payment approval will then move on to the process order process in order to start confirming the order and begin building it. And then the validated funds process will also send a payment to the supplier. Moving on to seeing how orders are processed, a customer first places their orders and set to the process cart items. Then that customer order will be confirmed, and then the order approval will be sent to inventory processing, just to make sure that whatever items the customer ordered are in stock. And then so on and so forth as it moves through the warehouse so that the order can be received, and the customer is then given their order confirmation, and then the tracking number will come from the shipment delivery process, which we'll take a look at in the next few slides. Staying on board with Walmart's level 2 diagrams, we've got the inventory processing process and the shipment delivery processing process. So first, looking at the inventory processing process, the warehouse will send an inventory depletion or repletion update to the update request process, and then that data will be sent to the modified inventory process, where it will be finalized in the record inventory modification process. When it's finalized, it's sent both to the inventory database so that it can be updated, and it's also sent to the supplier so that they can get an update on what the warehouse inventory levels are, and then they send a product replenishment update back to the modified inventory, where again that will go down, be finalized, and then sent back to the inventory database. And then last but not least, once it's finalized, an inventory update will also be sent to the warehouse for the records. Then when we look at the shipment delivery processing process, the warehouse will fulfill the order, it will be received and packaged, and then it'll be parsed for either pickup or delivery, where it will be shipped and the order will be delivered to the customer, or a bulk merchandise order will be delivered to a retail store. Last but not least is the sales forecast process as part of Walmart's level 2 diagrams. So the sales forecast process first begins when a retail store sends sales data to the collect forecasting data process. Then that data is sent for analysis in the sales data and the analyze sales data process. And then that data is sent to the final process so that Walmart can forecast replenishment levels. Once it does, it will send an aggregate product level to the supplier, where the supplier will send a product and merchandise order back to the warehouse, which we already covered elsewhere, which is why it's not covered here. And then we also can't forget that as part of the collection process, the inventory database from before will also send formatted inventory summary so that the forecast can come from both what the retail store sales are saying as well as what the inventory looks like now. So now looking at Walmart's ER diagram, it's a pretty good depiction of what we've already covered so far. But what is interesting is seeing that the warehouse entity and the product entity have the most relationships with the rest of the entities. And I'd say that makes sense just because so many of the processes that we covered go through, they have to do with product and with the warehouses. I do think that if we were to cover all of Walmart's functionalities in our analysis, that we'd probably see a lot more connected to the customer as well, since most of the functionalities are customer oriented. And so we'd see a lot more relationships being connected to that customer. So last but not least, I wanted to cover an improvement for Walmart's information system. When I compared both Amazon and Walmart to each other, one thing that I found that Walmart was lacking in was in their subscription service. So currently Walmart Plus is pretty basic compared to Amazon Prime. They can both, if you subscribe, for both of them, you get free next day or same day delivery. And yeah, for Walmart, you get cheaper gas and you get a mobile checkout, which doesn't really apply to Amazon because they don't have stores really. However, I wouldn't say those few things are enough to separate it from Amazon, considering that Prime doesn't really stand out in terms of what it can do. Amazon Prime gives you a lot more content and a lot more services than Walmart Plus does. And I think the big thing that's lacking is digital content. So I would say right now that digital content is definitely what a lot of people are, especially due to the pandemic, digital content is what people want out of a subscription. And the fact that Walmart Plus doesn't really give you that, I think is something that Walmart can definitely improve on. And I definitely see them trying to get into that space later on, just because I think that's where the world is heading. So hopefully Walmart can capitalize on that opportunity and they see their weakness in that. So to conclude, I just want to thank everybody for their time, and I look forward to everybody's reviews and opinions. Thank you.